If you're watching this video, you're probably getting ready for a Father of the Bride speech and you're looking for inspiration. And there's a lot of Father of the Bride speeches on YouTube and they're not all great. I don't care how many views they have. I help dads write heartfelt and funny wedding speeches. I'm a comedy writer by trade, and I use this YouTube channel to share all kinds of tips and tricks. And what I've started doing is just showing you great speeches that are already on YouTube and explaining why I think they're really good so that you can replicate that in your own way. So this guy, am I pointing anywhere near him? He just went out there and he told some really good stories that really explained who his daughter was, who he was as a dad, and how he felt about the groom. And he just was himself. And it's really fun to watch. Depending on where you're from, it'll help you to know that Magnin used to be a big department store in San Francisco.
First of all, so thank you for coming. When Ellie was born, naturally, I don't know how I did this. I didn't even know that this was a thing to do. I took off my shirt and I laid her on my chest and I just bonded with her. And then I'd say about 6 months later, I found out that's what you're supposed to do. So I thought naturally fatherhood was easy for me. And that was until she was about 3, and my wife was working in the city and they had a Ferris wheel on top of Magnin. So I put my 3-year-old daughter on this Ferris wheel by herself. And of course, as she rose up in the sky like 50 feet, I realized, what the heck was this 16-year-old kid that was running the Ferris wheel, letting this child go up on this event? And as I started getting mad at him, I realized that it was my responsibility while he was 16 years old. And then I blamed Magnin for hiring a 16-year-old to run a Ferris wheel on top of the building. And as she went around the 5 or 7 or 10 times, I'm not sure how many times it was, because the whole time I'm thinking, oh my God, just hang on to get down. I realized that fatherhood wasn't as easy as I thought it was when I put her on my chest and did something I didn't even know I was supposed to do. That being said, I was very fortunate because my wife worked on the weekends, so I had to be Mr. Mom on the weekends, and one of her favorite things to do was to do her hair, which included just running water in both the sink and the bathtub, and taking big gobs of Vaseline and hair oil combined with water and brushing her hair for hours. And she would come to me and go, "Dad, how's my hair look?" And I go, "Beautiful, honey." It'll be all over her head, and then she would go in and do the same thing. And every time I'd say, "That's beautiful, honey." And then we send her off to school, and we would comb her hair into this bun, and we say, "Honey, don't take your hair out of your bun." And of course, every day we would show up after school, and her hair would be out here, like bozo. So we just dealt with it. But anyway, one time I picked her up from school, and this is a true story. I picked her up from school, and she's in the back seat, and we have the car seat in the middle in the back.
Each of these stories has a purpose. He's not just sort of telling them to tick boxes. He's telling stories that are giving us information. They're showing the relationship. They're showing her as she gets older. He's also taking a lot of the responsibility himself. He's not making fun of his daughter. He's taking it all, I thought I was a good dad, but here's all the stuff I'm doing.
And she decided to get out of the car seat while I was driving. We just, stopped at a light and give me a hug around her neck. I'll never forget it. She gave me a beautiful hug around her neck. Unfortunately, the highway patrol was right there. True story. Then I got this ticket. And unfortunately, I didn't pay the ticket on time. You know how that is. And it turned into a warrant. I'm not even kidding. So when I ended up paying it, it was like $2,000. And eventually, and I got stopped by a cop in between there, and he said, "Do you have anything on your record?" And I said, "Yeah, I drove through a stop sign, and I have, driving without a seatbelt." This is a true story. He says, "Okay," but he didn't check anything. He did $2,500, and we didn't have any money. And I realized that when you have a beautiful daughter like I do, a $2,500 hug is worth it. There is no price on a hug for your daughter.
So he didn't just tell the story, he brought the story home. He made it then about everything in the bigger picture. I mean, I just love that story. And if you're sitting in the audience, you're happy because you're not listening to the same old thing that happens over and over. You're just hearing good stories and they're making a point.
And that's all true. So anyway, we go through time, and this gentleman, about 3 years ago, was it 2.5, 3 years ago, Jason comes in, and he comes over, and she had some guys come over before, and I call them flat tires. There were some flat tires. Yeah, they had all the air wasn't in the tire. And I had to kind of pretend like I kind of liked the guys. Down deep, you get to that age where you can't pretend anymore, and you just don't want to. And my daughter, when she was younger, and bring these guys by, she goes, "Hey, you're so nice. Why aren't you nicer to the guys I bring home?" And I just kind of go, man, I'm trying to be nice, honey. I'm nice, but I couldn't pretend that they were good enough for my daughter. I just couldn't.
I usually, the kind of general wisdom that I always put out is, well, everyone does. Don't talk about her exes. Don't talk about the one she didn't marry. But if you're gonna do it, this is a great way to do it. Like, she brought other guys home, but again, he made it about him. When you get to an age when you can't really pretend anymore, that makes it universal. So he's not just talking about it. Look at the parade of losers she used to bring home. He brings it back to himself, which kind of takes the pressure off of, look how many guys she dated before she got it right. Do you know what I mean? So there are rules for things, but then think about the spirit of the law rather than the letter of the law.
And then Jason showed up. So the first day, we really liked her. But my wife and I didn't even say to each other we liked her. We just kind of looked at each other and went like, okay, this has promise. Well, we liked Jason. And plus, it was way too early to know. Anybody can act good for a day. By day 3, you can tell if he's a fool or not. Day 1, everybody can pull that off, right? So, we kind of looked at each other. We liked Jason, but it was just too early to know. So the second day, we looked at each other. We kind of didn't say anything because we didn't want to commit to it. We didn't want to commit to the fact that we really liked Jason. And so the second day, they were going out to do something, and I remember us both running out to the kitchen window and looking out the window. And yes, he did open the door. Yeah. Okay. Open the door. All right, somebody passed the test. It's not like you were looking. We were looking in between the shades. You're not good. That, so it wasn't really a picture. And so then day 3, we looked at each other and went, I really like Jason. I really like Jason too. Finally, somebody we liked it. I went to my son and I went like, we like Jason. He went, Dad, you're getting soft. Don't be making that commitment yet. We don't know nothing about him. So as we saw them interact together, they would watch these movies on the screen, and we would peek around the corner, and they would be actually enjoying each other's company and laughing at each other's jokes. And we're like, this is promise. We like Jason.
Here's something else he's doing. Everything he's doing is a we. It's not just I. I mean, well, the I stuff for when he was screwing everything up when she was a little girl, he owned that as I. But as soon as Jason comes into the picture, he's telling it all from a we perspective. So he's including his wife in there. Don't forget to talk about your wife. It's a long, quiet car ride home if you don't even acknowledge the existence of your wife or your daughter's mom in your speech.
We do love Jason, and we were right. Yeah. Right. And thank God we were right, because my wife used to always say, they married their dad. We have a tradition every year where we buy my wife Tina buys Allie clothes for Christmas, and then 2 days after Christmas they go down to San Francisco and they return about 75% of the clothes. So really it's just an opportunity for them to shop together again.
Here's something else. If you're looking for ways to make it funny, don't go and Google canned jokes, father of the bride speech jokes. Truth is funny. Everything you've heard in this speech is just real life. It's truth. And everything he's saying here, they go shop and then they go return it all. It's truth. And look at the laughs he's getting. He's not trying to be funny. He's just telling the truth.
Right, and spend the money they already spent with additional money. But this time I had a partner to sit with me while they were doing that, and that was Jason. And then, so they were going to return clothes, and we went up to the Cheesecake Factory, because that's what we do. 2 days after Christmas, we're returning clothes. And Jason sat across from me, and he said, Mr. Gooden, I think he might have called me Royal, I don't remember, because I was so shocked that this was happening. He went, I love your daughter, and I want to marry her, and I want to ask you for a hand. And I said, wow, that ain't never happened. Damn. Asking me ahead of time? That is cool. But I didn't really say any of that. I simply had tears in my eyes because I knew deep down, even from the second or third day I met him, that he was the right guy. I just needed to confirm it. And I knew that not only was he the right guy, but they were right together, that they complement each other. But I do hand over my precious gift of a daughter to a special man as a son, and I'll always be there for you. Thank you so much for coming to my daughter's life, and thank you for being the man that I feel very comfortable turning over my precious gift to. I welcome you to the family.
That's how you do it. You don't have to overthink it. Sometimes if you just know that you've got some great stories, think those through, figure out which stories you want to tell, what's going to make the best beginning, middle, and end, and tell those stories. You don't have to be formal about it. These are your friends and family and the people who love you most. If you want some help with your speech, check the description. I've got all kinds of things that'll help you. I got templates. You can book me for an hour. I can write your whole speech for you. I'll interview you and it'll sound just like you. And if you want to watch another great Father of the Bride speech, click right here. I really hope I'm pointing at it.